Hey everyone, welcome to today's Feathr webinar. I'm joined by the lovely Kelsey Brown, another Feathr team member. So we'll get into some more detailed intros soon, but really happy to have you on today, Kelsey.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Cool. Well, go ahead and drop in where you're joining from today, just to kind of get the chat going off a little bit. I'm just going to add that in for anyone who's just joining. We've got associations only today, so it's going to be lots of exclusive content that's hopefully super helpful and targeted for you guys. Cool.
I'm so excited. I already see Austin's and I already see Atlanta's, and I just moved from Atlanta to Austin. So excited.
Yep. My sister moved to Atlanta last year, so I've been going there a lot and just visiting her, and it's
Wow.
an amazing place. So much to do.
Wow.
I feel like ever since she moved there, she's just like constantly going to shows and like doing cool stuff in the city. And I'm in Gainesville, Florida, which is where Feathr is headquartered, and it's a great place, but not as much to do for sure. So Atlanta's a vibe.
Still
Philly.
such a good music scene.
Yes, absolutely. I was recently in Philly. Love Philly.
I saw Toronto in there.
Nice. Cool. Um, I see IE Society. So we actually have a couple examples today, I think from some of the
In the
campaign.
Communication Society.
Yeah. Oh, Communication Society. Okay. I'm getting them
Mhm.
mixed up.
That's okay.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. For anyone who's just come in, go ahead and feel free to drop in where you're joining from. Um, but super happy to have everyone on today. And again, happy to be joined by Kelsey Brown from our services team. So she's going to be going into a lot of the strategy behind really successful campaigns that Feathr customers have run, and hopefully give you, whether you're a Feathr user or not, give you some really cool ideas about new ways that you can reach existing members, potential members, event attendees, all of that, just staying in front of them year round. We've got some ways to drive some non-dues revenue. So lots to talk about today. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm Isa Hasty. I'm the Senior Content Marketing Manager here at Feathr. I included my email just because we'll be sending out the slide deck after, so feel free to reach out to me with any questions, any ideas for upcoming webinars. If there's a topic you'd like to hear us cover, I'm always open to that. So feel free to reach out with anything. And then I'll pass it off to you, Kelsey, to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Kelsey Brown, and I'm a lead digital campaign strategist here at Feathr. I've had the pleasure of being on our services team now for about 3 years. So, very excited to get into what is the services team, what are some cool strategies, and then actually show you examples from my real life clients.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it'll be really good to have you here just to kind of like talk about the inner workings of the campaigns and give people an idea of what we can offer in terms of actually running campaigns for people. And then, just to kind of give everyone a little bit of a view of what Feathr looks like, whether you're familiar or not. Feathr is the digital marketing platform for associations and nonprofits. So included sort of some of the logos here, just hopefully one of these resonates with you. We obviously serve a variety of associations. And so, yeah, lots of success in this sector. ASAE is one of our favorite clients. So we've helped them promote their annual meeting, which I'm sure a lot of you drop in the chat if you actually recently attended ASAE annual. We were there, so we might have seen you at the booth. But yeah, love to see all of these different types of associations having success with Feathr. And yeah, trying out some new digital marketing tactics. So I just included a couple of highlights. We're going to obviously go into much more detail on some other campaigns and other accounts, but just wanted to kind of highlight some of the standout, results we've seen from some clients. And we actually have case studies on these four that I'm about to show on our website. So definitely visit our case studies page on the website to see sort of the full story behind these. But this is the Society of American Military Engineers, and they were able to drive a ton of registrations to their annual events. Obviously, you can see this super high ROI number here. And they were just getting in front of potential attendees with digital ads. And then here we have Restaurant Association of Maryland. So we have a more recent case study with them, and they were able to get in front of lots of new people, drive them to the website for them to learn about them for the first time. They drove 224 memberships over the last couple of years through Feathr campaigns, and they also run sponsored retargeting, which we're going to get into later, and that's that way to drive some additional non-dues revenue for your association. And then ASCRS, they increased membership as well. So they drove $52,000 in member dues from Feathr campaigns. And then NMSDC is another great organization based in DC. And they just added Feathr to sort of have that additional touch point and really create a cohesive journey for their audience online. And so they were doing some ads before, some social media, but they wanted to really like connect the dots with email ads, all of the things they were doing. And so Feathr helped them do that. They drove tons of registrations to an event and obviously super high return on that event. So yeah, whatever growth looks like for your organization, whether it's more impact, visibility, awareness, events, registrations, things like that. It's just about getting in front of the right people, staying in front of them all the time on as many channels as you can with information that is relevant to them as individual people. And yes, we will be sending out the slide deck and the recording tomorrow, Mariella. So be on the lookout for that in your inbox. So I'm going to go through just a few of the campaign types that we're going to be going into more detail on later, just to kind of set a foundation of what these campaign types mean, how they work. And so then when Kelsey starts going into examples, she can kind of name drop these and you'll have a better understanding of how they work. So retargeting, a lot of you on here might know what this is. Please drop a yes in the chat if you are running retargeting campaigns. I'm guessing a lot of associations are. We sometimes talk with 501c3s and there's less use of retargeting in that audience, but I know associations tend to be more tech savvy, have a little more budget for this. And so yeah, great to see that lots of people in here are running retargeting already. But for anyone who's not familiar or needs a refresher, this is basically reaching people who have visited your website and left without converting. So this could be people coming to your annual event page and maybe they browse it, but they don't register for the event, right? Or a new person coming to your membership page, not becoming a member and then leaving. You want to make sure that you're staying in front of them, right after. It's timely to kind of get in front of them right after they've just shown interest or intent by visiting a page on your website. You then start showing them ads as they're browsing the web, trying to get them to come back. And so again, we'll talk about this later, but it's kind of thinking about the funnel of somebody who's first seen, who's never heard about you before. You get them with sort of general messaging to your site. If they leave without converting, you then want to start sort of enticing them with more detailed information, more about the perks or the benefits of attending your event, becoming a member, things like that, until eventually they hopefully convert. And so we'll talk a little bit about how that messaging and the creative should change along that journey. But retargeting is kind of one of those big steps in kind of getting people to come back to your site with the goal of converting. And then CRM retargeting is another way to get in front of people who maybe are lapsed members or current members who are not reading your emails, might be a little bit disengaged. So in Feathr, we call this email mapping. You might have heard of it as CRM retargeting, but basically this uses email addresses as a unique identifier to serve ads to people. So just like we talked about with the retargeting, you're serving those display ads that show up in slots as people are browsing the web, right? So you might be, we all receive them too. So you're looking at, a recipe online or the news and you see the ads reminding you to buy a pair of shoes that you left in your cart on Amazon and things like that. So it's the same kind of concept, right, that retail companies use all the time and are super successful with. So let's take a page out of that book and stay in front of our audience members with digital ads. So CRM retargeting allows you to serve those ads based on their email address. And so this can be really handy for lapsed members, for example, who might not be opening your emails, but you have their email, right? Because they were once a member. So you can use that to get in front of them with ads, just a different way to show up. That might actually be the thing that brings them back, right? Event attendees are another great example. So if you have a list of event attendees, you might want to, I'm sure you'll do some post-event email follow-up and outreach, but you can also serve them ads because you have their email address. And yeah, one of the perks of this is that these people do not have to have visited your site recently. So with retargeting, it's people who were on your site, have left, you're serving them ads, but this can be somebody who hasn't been to your site in a couple of years, but you have their email, you can serve them ads. So really handy thing to kind of lump in together with retargeting and other ad campaigns to really get the full spectrum of who you want to reach. And then geofencing. So I included just a few. We wanted to talk through some examples of geofencing. And Kelsey, I'm sure you have some other creative ideas to throw in here too. But this is basically drawing a sort of border around a physical location and serving ads to people who were in that location or are currently in that location. So this could look like a competing event, right? An industry event that's happening this upcoming weekend. You want to, geofence that event and basically target people who are in that physical location with ads on their mobile devices. And you can also do this for things that happened in the past. So if there was, a competitor event that happened in the past, your own event, this is actually a really easy way to get people who are your warmest audience. They attended your event. Maybe some of them, maybe you have an event that isn't all members and you want to convert some of those attendees into members. You might geofence your own previous event. Included some other options here, but Kelsey, I'd love to hear like your take on any of these and anything else that you've seen work for associations.
No, absolutely. I'm itching to go ahead and break through like what and why you should use these. So for geofence, we have mobile and we have historical, just like Issa said. And when you're thinking like, why should I use one versus the other? I want you to think about what is happening at that event. If it is a crazy people running around, not sleeping, networking, there's like an activation after activation after like activation, maybe mobile is not the key. Like if people are not on their laptops, if people are not on their phones, if they're running around, mobile geofencing is not going to be the move for that specific event. But that's why we have historical geofencing. So like later on, as people are like at work, maybe they're doing downtime and playing on their phone, maybe they are like scrolling the internet, maybe they are just moving around doing research for their job, then they see your ad. It is still relevant. It is still a relevant audience to you, but now their attention is focused on you instead of 99 other things. So when you're trying to figure out, okay, mobile or historical, just think about what is happening at that event and you can decide. But just like Issa said, your own events, competitor events, government buildings, it is wherever your people are, that's where we want to be.
Yeah, that's a great distinction. And I think, thinking about like if you sometimes you can geofence hotels, places like that where people might be staying during a conference. So like at a hotel, it might be more likely people are chilling, scrolling on their phones versus at the actual convention when things are happening. So I think that that's a really good point. Think about what people are doing in that location and whether like that is the right time or if you should do it later when they're maybe back home. Yes, absolutely. And yeah, like universities, colleges, career fairs, things like that. If you're looking to grow, your base of younger members, get in front of more diverse audiences, those can be really popular places to try to get, serve ads. Again, to Kelsey's point, that might be, there's a lot of hustle and bustle at a career fair. And so you might want to, do historical geofencing for people who are at a career fair. But then colleges and universities in general, that could be, mobile geofencing that you're doing in the moment because people are doing all kinds of things while they're on campuses. So lots of downtime there.
Exactly. Isa, also, we have seen before, you can absolutely get creative with where we're targeting. So we have had it before where there was an event, it was in kind of a remote location, there was a super small airport nearby. And so they geo-targeted the airport because most people at the airport were people they wanted to talk to anyway, because it was a massive event in a small location.
Yeah.
So something like that, you can definitely get creative with where you're targeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just about thinking like, where is my audience? Like, where are all of the physical
Exactly.
locations where my audience could be? And then deciding, what type of campaign makes sense. But yeah, this is a really, really easy way to get in front of the exact audience that you're trying to reach. So very cool campaign. All right, and then affinity targeting. So this is basically reaching specific groups of people based on industry data, in-market data, demographic data that we have built into Feathr. So you sort of decide, okay, who am I looking to reach? And then you can search for that based on search terms, it'll populate with options, and then you can reach entirely new groups of people. So this is a very cool campaign type for getting really specific with expanding your audience. So you can reach, moms of kids under a certain age. You can reach women in tech, pediatricians. If you're a health organization, you're looking to reach specific medical providers, you can get, you filter down for those specific professions, things like that. So you can get very specific here. And also just to clarify, this is fully included in the platform. I was talking about this on a recent webinar and people were like, oh, that's really cool that you can access all this third-party data. Is it extra? This is built in. This is a campaign type that's available in Feathr, whether you're using Kelsey's team services or not, you can access this type of campaign and reach all of these new people who would be relevant for you to be getting in front of. So another really cool way to kind of expand your audience to new people. And then I want to talk real quick about search retargeting. So this is a really good way to expand what you're already doing with paid search. You're probably familiar with Google Ads. So if you're running that already, great. That's basically showing up while people are searching, right? So they're searching some key terms and then you're trying to show up in that top spot in the Google search engine. With this, you're taking that same idea of, okay, they're searching for these relevant keywords that I deem, relevant to our mission or the work that we're doing. But instead of showing up right then, you're going to be showing them ads afterwards. So maybe you're doing Google Ads too. And so the goal is to show up there. But also, if people don't click on your website or if you're not ranking in that top spot, you want to continue showing up because they did express that they're interested in whatever those keywords are. So this is a really good way to continue staying in front of people as they are browsing the web based on something that they've indicated that they're interested in. And then we'll be talking a lot more about this and giving examples of sponsored retargeting. We call this monetization in Feathr. But this, so just like we talked about with retargeting, right? You're serving ads to people who've been to your website. You can actually sell that access to sponsors. So sponsors, partners who also want to get in front of your warm, primed audience, you can actually serve those sponsors ads to your audience as well. So people who visited your site can see your ads and your sponsors ads. And the cool thing about this is it's really limitless. It's not like an email blast or, showing a banner ad from your sponsor on your website and you have to switch it out all the time to make sure all your sponsors get visibility. This is like, each person is seeing different ads shown to them as they're browsing the web, and those slots exist and they're going to be filled in with whatever makes sense for them based on their search history and based on the websites they've visited. So you're kind of letting multiple sponsors show up in front of all of your individual audience members who visited your website. And that's just a really great pitch, I think, for sponsors. It's like, this is literally my member base, literally the people who've attended my events. They've visited my website. They're super engaged. You want to get in front of them. Here's a new way to do that. In addition to email blasts or whatever you might already be doing, this can be an add-on. It can be its own thing. And you can charge whatever you feel is appropriate for it. But it's a really great way to add on some non-dues revenue on top of all of the other work that you're doing. So yeah, and then there's shareable dashboards in Feathr that make it easy to kind of keep the sponsor in the loop. They can see at any point in time how their campaigns are performing, how the ads are doing, all of that. So cool. All right. Well, now that we've kind of walked through the campaign types, hopefully that was helpful as Kelsey gets into specific examples. So we're going to kind of go use case by use case. We're going to be talking about events, registrations, getting in front of new young audiences, staying top of mind. So we have it divided by these use cases and we have a few examples in each section. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you, Kelsey, to kind of start walking through these examples. And if anyone does have questions as we go, feel free to drop questions in the chat and we will get to them as we can.
Awesome. Thank you, Isa. Alrighty, perfect. So we are going to get into some real life examples of my personal clients. So I know I said earlier that I was on the services team, and some of you are probably wondering, what is a services team? And two, what do we do? So I'm happy to answer. So the services team is basically your bandwidth's best friend. All of you are very, very busy. That is a universal feeling. I know it. All of my clients feel it. But essentially what we do is we meet, we talk about your goals. I create a strategy on how we can use the Feathr tools to achieve those goals. We do all of the display ads for you. We create them with our design team. We create all of your emails. We launch the campaigns, we optimize them, and we report on them. All of that is off of your plate, and we got it. We got you. And what is super nice and different about Feathr is that you have access to all of that the entire time. You have dashboards that you can look at the entire time. Nothing is a secret until the end. You approve everything and then you have access to the results. And so that is super duper nice. And so when you look at all of these examples that we're about to show you, just know that it was a collaborative effort between our services team, so me, hi, and then also the client we're talking about. Between the creatives, the strategies, and then the reporting. So very excited to get into it. We are kicking it off with ATD, so the Association of Talent Development. And then we're kicking off with RedDrop. So Isa has talked about that a couple times in the beginning of this presentation. RedDrop it can be called all kinds of things: registration dropout, cart abandonment, application abandonment, application dropout. You've heard it called all kinds of things, but essentially it is the warmest audience you have. If you have a registration flow for an event, if you have a registration flow for a membership, if you have courses, if you have certifications, if you have anything, the people who start registering for it and then don't complete it, that is who falls into the segment. They are infamously the baby come back ads. That is exactly what these are. Complete my registration, complete my application, one click away. Those are the type of call to actions that we use here. And then Isa, if you could pop on over to those results, they are fantastic. Because this is your warmest audience, I think it's a must have. If you have any type of flow, I think it is a definite must have. Just because it is a set it, forget it for you. It is something that works super duper well. And these people are so close to doing what you're asking them to do. So as you can see down below, the cost per acquisition here was $11.41, which is fantastic. Some of you might be wondering, what is a good cost per acquisition? Essentially, we want to spend less than we make. So I know that changes based on whether we are doing memberships or different type of activations, or whether we are looking at events. So that changes, but for this specifically, that CPA was amazing. And then moving on to ASLD, they, as well as others, obviously have an annual event. You all probably do too. So something that we do for their membership is we do a renew and save as well as a join and save. These are incredible campaigns that basically highlight the main component. So a giant event that you have once a year, something we hear quite often is that is when you're seeing the most members go ahead and join. That is when you're seeing the most renewals. And so we definitely want to capitalize on that time and definitely push it as far as we can. And so as you can see, these are incredible ads that we had created, pushing the renew. We have some others that you're not seeing right now that also push that join. And this is going to a member focused audience because we are trying to get new people to join based on the discount they are going to get at the annual event. Obviously, there are other methods that you can do of talking to your event audience, pushing that members get a discount. So your pre-existing members know that they can go ahead and save as a way to get them to register early. But for this specifically, it is trying to get them to join. As you can see, it worked great. I'm going to go ahead and harp on that CPA one more time because it is so good. It itches a spot in my brain that I love. $12.07 to get people to become a member. That is fantastic. And then they also have something that is super duper cool. So they still participate in mailers. I see your question and I'll respond to it 1 second. So they still participate in mailers, like some of you probably do as well. We are seeing kind of resurgence in mailers coming back, which is totally fine. Love it. Something we need to do though is track it. We need to know what it is doing when it hits their mailbox, what is going on. And so something we have done here is we have utilized a tracked link campaign within Feathr. What that does is it adds UTM parameters on the end of a URL. You put that URL, because it is very, very long, inside of a QR code. That hits their mailbox, they engage with it, and then we have actual tangible evidence of what is happening after they get that in their mailbox. So as you can see here, 46 conversions, over $12,000. That is wonderful. And then something you can also do just to make sure the party doesn't stop is people who engage with it and don't convert, you can then retarget them with ads so that customer journey can continue.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. This is a great way to track those sort of, physical mailers or things that historically haven't been as easy to track, but then you can continue to engage with people based on how they engage with that. Same with email campaigns. If you send an email and people engage with it in a specific way, then you can serve them ads based on that. So I know you'll get into an example of that later on, but I think that's important just when it comes to, having that multi-channel marketing strategy in place and making sure you're, all the dots are connected and people are seeing that sort of surround sound version of your messaging wherever they are online. And another point that I think is important to make, we're highlighting specific campaigns within an overall what we call project. And so a lot of the results you're seeing are just a fraction of what they actually saw. So for example, the campaign we were just highlighting for this annual meeting, they, got 82 conversions from this specific campaign, but they ran a ton of other campaigns and got a lot of conversions in total. So yeah, we're just showing like little pieces of the campaigns to give you an idea of the variety of things you can do, but just keep in mind that the total results, total event registrations and turnout were higher.
Perfect. And then I'm also going to go ahead and answer this question really fast of how far before the meeting did these run? So it depends on your meeting, which I know it depends. It's not the most fun thing to hear, but it just depends. Obviously, if we are promoting that you become a member and you save on the event, we want them to then be able to register for the event. If that is the biggest pull for them, I want them to then be able to take that next step and register for the event. We also see quite often that people can become a member during registering for an event. So we want to make sure that registration is live when we are running these, which kind of depends on when your registration goes live. So if your registration goes live 3 months before your event, then we kind of want to run these a little bit earlier so we have plenty of runtime. We definitely don't want to wait till like a week, 2 weeks, a month before the event to start pushing these, because we definitely need that runtime for people to, one, decide, yes, I want to go to that meeting. That sounds fantastic. And two, yes, I want to save on it and I will become a member. So we just need a little bit of runtime. So it is dependent on when your registration goes live, for sure. Awesome. And now switching into GCFAA. Give a gift. I love a give the gift. You can do a give the gift for membership. You can do a give the gift for your event. There are plenty of things that you can do it for. Essentially, it is gifting either a membership or gifting a registration or gifting an add-on or something like that. This is something pretty unique. You don't see it all the time, but they perform really, really well. So definitely trying it out, giving it a test, seeing if it works for you and your org, see how people respond. Isa, if you can go ahead and hop over, we can see how it performed. So cost per acquisition of $16, 12 conversions, a little over $1,200. That is fantastic, especially when it's just running for a very short amount of time around the holidays. And there's also a lot of noise going around at that time. There are a ton of ads that you are fighting against big box stores as well, because their ads increase at the same time. But just running a test, seeing if it works. The investment is low. It runs for a very short amount of time. We put $200 towards it. And then we see what we got out of it. And now scooching on to APIC. Fantastic. So as you will see here, this is 2025 membership Q3 renewals. We are actively in Q3. These creatives are live right now. So if you fall into their audience, you will probably see them around the internet. But I do want to highlight that Q3 portion really, really fast. When you're thinking about your customer journey, you're thinking about when people are the most active, you're thinking about your fiscal year, all of these things you have to think about. Figuring out how you want your data broken down is very helpful. So when we're looking at something like this, we break it down by quarter because we want to see how many people are engaging in Q1 versus Q2 versus Q3 versus Q4, because they are having renewals constantly. And so thinking about that, we break it down this way just to kind of see how your audience is engaging and just get that data back to understand what's happening. What are those behaviors? What can we do with those behaviors? And looking at those trends. So as you can see, don't lose your access, training and journals, kind of pushing why people become a member, why people should renew, what are the things they care about the most in these ads. And then Isa, if you can pop over. And then we can see how it does. So these are currently live. So these are not things that have run for a very, very long time. Obviously, we are in August, but so far 11 conversions, a little over $2,600, cost per acquisition of $30. And then we see a ton of views. So as you all know, you have all done renewal pushes before. You have to remind them a million times. And so we are as well. So we have 12 views per user so far to go ahead and hit them multiple times and get them to renew before that final deadline.
Yeah, so next use case, getting in front of new types of audiences, getting in front of younger, more diverse audiences. So we have a couple great examples of this. Again,
hit it again.
a favorite.
Awesome. So to go ahead and hit those new audience members and specifically those younger audience members, I know sometimes that can be very intimidating because you're like, okay, what is Gen Z thinking? What is Gen Alpha thinking? And obviously, younger means different things based on the type of organization you are. So maybe younger to you is someone in their 20s, maybe younger someone in their 30s, someone in their 40s. It just depends on what is the demographic of your current breakdown. And so, specifically for GCSAA, it is their education programs. Their education programs have a giant draw to them, especially for a younger audience. Depending on your breakdown and depending on who this younger audience is that we're talking to, I think a good place to start is lived experience. So thinking about yourself. So if you want to target someone who is in their 20s, what did you care about at work when you were in your 20s? What is something you were looking for? Were you looking for connections because you wanted to be able to move around? Were you looking for resources because you were new to research and you really need to go ahead and pull that? Were you looking at education opportunities? You wanted to go ahead and get a ton of certs under your belt and go ahead and start strong. What did you care about? That is a good place to start. And again, these educational opportunities, they have multiple that they push. This was just one program that was there. And we can go ahead and see those results in a second. Awesome. So cost per acquisition of $45, a ton of views. You have to talk to people so many times. We yell this from the rooftops continuously. You have to have a ton of views per user for something like this. You have to get in front of them. You have to remind them just for them to engage. Obviously, that shifts. You're not going to want 27 views per user on a search keyword campaign. Those are brand new people. We just want to get those people in the ecosystem. But something like this, we are retargeting people that have already engaged with the org, and we just want them to engage in a different way. So we can see 33 conversions, over $4,000, and a click-through rate of 0.25.
And do you have anything to say to organizations that might be worried, like, oh, am I annoying people by showing up so many times, or is this like too much? I think, like, to your point
That's a
about
good
showing
question.
up a few times for someone new versus a lot of times for someone who's like
Mhm.
familiar and expecting to hear from you. But yeah, anything to add for people who might have that concern?
I think it is very hard to annoy people in that way. You think of your life, you think of how noisy everything is, how many ads you see online. Um, and then I think about myself. Like you said earlier, when you left it in your cart and they're targeting you, eventually they're going to get me. If
Yeah.
they keep showing it to me again and again, eventually they're going to get me. And I'll be better to have the shoes in my closet. So
Yeah.
I don't.
Amen.
Exactly. I don't think that you're going to annoy them. Obviously, if they are a brand new person, they've never engaged with you at all, like the search keyword, and we're hitting them 30 times, that's a little much. They don't know who you are. They have no stake in the game. They're not invested in who you are yet. We need to get them invested. So definitely save like the 27 views per user for people who already know you and already have engaged in multiple ways and are a little bit stickier with your organization um, just because they do have that experience with you. Awesome. And then this is for their affinity. So just like Issa was saying earlier, we have affinity segments, which are those third-party data sets that you can use. And something very fun and very cool that Feathr has come out with recently is stacking them. So something we couldn't do in the past, but technology evolves and so do we. Now you can stack them. So if we are looking for equipment managers, which fall into GCSA's categories, and we want younger, we could go ahead and stack equipment managers with, let's say, people in Georgia and people who are 25 to 32. We could find the segment of who falls into all of those at the same time. So you can get really, really specific with who your ideal candidate is for these programs, for your event, for maybe you have a student membership, maybe you have discounts that you're promoting, courses, anything like that. You can get very, very specific into who you want to talk to.
And the more specific you're able to get with that target audience, the more specific you can get in your messaging and your creatives too, which is
For
cool. So
sure.
you can actually pick language that you think might speak directly to that very niche segment instead of just general messaging, broadly targeting your entire audience. So
Spot on. And then we can see here that through that affinity that was talking about field trips, which do really well for them every year, we can see 111 clicks, a click-through rate of 0.84, and then a reach of over 10,000. And this is top of funnel, brand new, never engaged with them before. And so these are people that you can nurture through any other methods, through retargeting. Maybe you push them to the blog or the news or any other offerings that you have, but continuing that customer journey. I will say it again, and I will probably say it a couple more times before we end this, but you want to keep the party going.
Yep. And again, just like, this is a significant number of new people who had never been to your website before, who now have been. For just a few hundred, a couple $100s in ad spend, you can get hundreds of
Exactly.
people who've never heard about you to your website to learn more and then keep showing up. And now they know who you are. So, all right. Yeah, let's get into event promotion. I know this is a huge topic for associations. So, yeah, we've got some great examples, starting with ASAE.
I know, I'm so excited. I have a big love of events, especially nonprofit events, because in a past life, that is exactly what I did, was events for nonprofits. So I love to see it. So for ASAE this year, they always have such good keynotes, such good speakers. And this year was Magic Johnson. And so being able to loop in those creatives to their campaigns to go ahead and highlight, hey, here is one more reason that you should be coming. That is exactly what y'all need to be doing as well. So if you have which we've heard before, where people have relay races, people have incredible speakers like Magic Johnson. I know TAA in the past has had Matthew McConaughey. So if you have big name speakers, you want to promote them. I know you go through so many hoops in order to get them. Let's go ahead and promote them. Let's get people in front of them. And so swapping out creatives like this for a highly engaged audience. So people who have already engaged with your event or your speakers maybe before this was even agreed upon, or maybe has looked at the schedule. People who have taken that extra step to engage with you in your event specifically, they're going to want to know about this. We have also heard before that there have been relay races, or maybe it is something where you have giant tanks coming and you have these really, really big events happening outside. Whatever it happens to be, I know not everyone is going to have Magic Johnson every year, but whatever it happens to be that you want to promote, we need to promote it.
Yeah, I've seen like, if you're having a happy hour or special events or some kind of party
Mm-hmm.
at the, conference, you can highlight that. And more pragmatic
Absolutely.
things to highlight, like if you can get certification or like credits from attending the
Mm-hmm.
event, things like that. Just think about any of the benefits of attending and include that in your ads. And it also gives you like
Absolutely.
lots of different things to include so that you can create variation in your ad so people aren't just seeing the same things.
Exactly. Something that is coming to mind is we did a promotion a while back for an event that was in Orlando. And so what we were promoting is a weekend with the family. So bring the family, you come to the event, and then these are all the things that you can do at Disney. These are all the things that you can do at Universal, which at first you're thinking, why am I promoting Disney and Universal? That's not what we're promoting. We're promoting the fact that it's easy for you and the whole family to come to this event. Look how much fun we can have. You can stay late, you can engage. Don't worry, there are plenty of things that they can do while we're here. Stay late, make it a vacation. So it performed really, really well. So whatever that highlight needs to be, put it on a creative.
Lean into it. Yeah. I love
Mm-hmm.
that example.
Also,
IEC Communication
yep.
Society.
Yep. Yep. We have more IEEE family members here today, but specifically, this is the Communication Society. Love them so much. And as you were saying on this ad, it is a fly-in retargeting campaign. And as the ads are shifting, you're getting a little bit more context. ICC 2025 is right next door. What does that mean? This event was in Canada. And so what we did was a fly-in campaign. If you were having an event, I keep saying Georgia just because that's where I just came from. But if you had an event in Georgia, we could also do a drive-in campaign. So it doesn't always have to be a fly-in. You could do a drive-in. So maybe if it was in Atlanta, we would pick Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, anything like that. We would geo-filter those areas and then just be like, hey, coming near you, this event is something that you can drive to in under 6 hours, something like that. For this specifically, since it was in Canada, we did a fly-in campaign. This is also something we do quite often when the event is in Europe or Asia, just because hop on a plane, a couple of hours, you're where you need to be super fast. And so for this, we just do targeted countries that we thought it would be very easy to fly to, whether they had a direct flight or maybe the visas were very easy. So that visa process was simple. And it worked really, really well. It was a campaign that we did close to the event, so you don't run it very long. And Issa, if you could go ahead and pop over. But you can see we got 9 conversions and over $2,000. So this is just something that we did very close to the event as like, hey, don't forget about us. It's super easy to get here. And we got 9 conversions. So whatever that success metric is for you, for this was registrations of people to come that maybe wouldn't have come before, but promoting it is easy, promoting it is accessible, works for them.
And again, a $450 spend, you know, to
Yeah,
get some revenue in the door. So it might not look like a huge number of conversions, but that's 9 people who attended who might not have otherwise because of a simple campaign that you can throw together right before the event. So
exactly. And then we have AAE, so endodontists.
we wanted to kind of show like a full example of a campaign since we've been kind of highlighting specific campaigns within the overall project. This example actually walks through what the whole process looks like. So
Yes, this was their 2024 event, performed super duper well. This is what a flight kind of looks like in the back end of Feathr for any of you that use Feathr, which I have already seen that some of you are doing retargeting campaigns, so you probably already know what this looks like. But for anyone who doesn't, this is what a flight looks like. And then we structured it specifically based off where people were in the marketing funnel. So we have nurturing interest. So we have social ads, we have emails, email mapping that you've seen a couple times in this presentation, moving into confirming intent. So like we've talked about, those highly engaged audience members that have engaged with you a step beyond the homepage, looking at the schedule, looking at the events. Member retargeting, we went ahead and encapsulated that in here as well. And then moving towards driving registration. So registration dropout, super warm audience, last chance, drive in, fly in, things like that would go into this category. And so you can see what that full strategy would look like. Awesome. And then started with their early bird retargeting ads. Their early bird does so well. So early bird last chance, don't forget, save your spot, things like that. But moving through the early bird, you can even see the target. So who are we including and who are we excluding? I think there's a very specific strategy with excluding of, are you done talking to this person? Are you not done talking to this person? For an early bird creative, let's say we're retargeting everyone that comes to your event homepage. So we're retargeting everybody, we're showing them early bird ads, and then they convert, they register for the event. They no longer need to receive early bird ads. They've already completed that action. High five yourself. Great job. They're already here. We no longer need to show them that ad anymore. So we've excluded them from seeing these ads again. Now, that doesn't mean that their customer journey is over. Maybe you engage with add-ons that they could do. Maybe you show them different events that are happening. Maybe they're different happy hours. Maybe you have partners that they could go ahead and talk to. We could send them emails reminding them, making sure they get their carpet if they're an exhibitor, anything like that. But for this specific campaign, we're done talking to them with this messaging.
yeah, this segment that was created, annual meeting 2024 goal, that was a registration. So like Kelsey said, you can immediately just cut those people out of receiving more ads like this and start serving them other ads to make sure that they actually show up to the event. Because sometimes people register and don't come. It's probably not
Yes,
super common, but you want to avoid that. And then just getting them to, upselling them on anything that you have, just getting people excited.
exactly. And we can see how well this performed here. So 72 conversions, over $57,000.
Just from
Wonderful.
the early bird efforts.
Just from the early bird. We also have email mapping that we've talked about a couple times. Email mapping for events. A good place to start is who has come before? Who is a past attendee? Who is a prospective attendee? Who are your members? You can break them down specifically in different ways if you want to talk to them in different ways. So if you have members who save, you could go ahead and put them in their own email mapping bucket, show them ads that tell them that they're saving. You could go ahead and have prospects and show them a different message than you're showing past attendees. But either way, those are where we would want to start for event email mapping. And then these are already people that you know. And so you can see conversions, 14, the spend right there, a little over 800 to get over $13,000. Awesome. And then we also have their highly engaged. For the highly engaged, I know we've talked about a couple times. Don't need to tell you again. These are people who have engaged beyond the homepage in some capacity. And then we're showing them things that they would be interested with. So networking with colleagues, explore the latest and greatest, kind of showing people happy, showing people networking, earning CE credits. That is something of high value to their highly engaged audience. And so we definitely want to add that to the messaging, connect with what they're looking for, go ahead and show them that we have it and get them to registering. Perfect. And then cart abandonment. Like we've said, you can name this all kinds of things: cart abandonment, registration dropout, all the same thing, that highly engaged audience. Did you forget something? These people did. 27 converted, over $26,000, and then went ahead and got them to that finish line.
Cool. Let's get into promoting courses. I think we have one example from NARPM here.
Yes. NARPM, we have an email campaign that we did. We went ahead and made this email for them, promoting courses. So $30 for 3 hours. That is fantastic. As you can see, the conversion value is $26 and the conversions are 26. That is because for this, we did not have a form of revenue attached to our success metric. Your success metric does not have to necessarily be event registrations. It doesn't necessarily have to be membership signups. It can be anything. And for this specifically, we wanted to see how many individuals engage with a specific link. And so that link and engaging with that link was our success metric. And so you can see that we had 26 here.
And just an example of an email that was built in Feathr. So whether you're using our services team to build things for you, or you're looking to be a self-serve user of Feathr, it's easy to build really nice looking professional emails in our email builder.
Absolutely. We can also see their search keyword here. So ready to build those skills. Come see why everyone loves our courses. Keeping things very top of funnel, very vague, just kind of like, hey, we offer some things. Don't you want to find out more? 102 clicks, click-through rate of 0.81, and over 9,000 for the reach. Definitely getting in front of people, getting in front of that net new audience, and then just getting them into your ecosystem. Because once they're into your ecosystem, we can point them in all kinds of directions. But first, we need to get them in the door. And that's exactly what this campaign does.
Mariella, real quick, it's super easy to create segments like this in Feathr. So for people who have registered, you can set that as a goal, and people who actually, meet that goal get filtered into a new bucket of people who've registered, and you can easily exclude those people. And it's all dynamic. So as those people register, they will be automatically excluded from any campaigns that you don't want them to be in. So it's really easy to do. You just set up segments and everything's automated based on what you want people to see and what you don't. So there's no like manual uploading constantly or anything like that.
Exactly.
And then, talking about promoting programs, we have 2 examples here, starting with WEF.
So we have WEF. This one is really interesting. So it's email retargeting from emails. This is something that we went ahead and added to their strategy. So we went ahead and sent emails to the desired audience that we wanted to talk to. And then the people that engaged with those emails, we hit them with retargeting. So again, kept that customer journey going. Already great. You engaged with this email, but you still didn't do the thing that I'm asking you to do. So now we're going to hit you with retargeting and try to get you in a different way. So getting the fundamentals, this is something that is still currently live. So we can see 17 conversions so far, over $3,000. And this is just on retargeting from emails you've already sent them. This is nobody from the website. This is nobody from any other type of campaigns. It is just from the emails we sent and then hitting them again.
And I wanted to highlight this too. These are smart campaign recommendations that are built into Feathr. So it's kind of a cool, relatively newer feature where if a campaign is performing really well, Feathr will actually tell you, hey, you could put more budget into this campaign and it'll do even better. So this is a cool little feature to kind of help you know where to add a little more money if you have extra budget. But in a lot of cases, whatever budget you've set is enough to get to your goal. But if you have extra, we can help you kind of determine where to direct it. And we've got the YMCA of Metro Fort Worth. We also have a case study with them. They're a great customer. I've actually hosted her on a webinar as well. So they're wonderful.
That's awesome. Also, thank you, Isa, for highlighting that kind of pop-up at the top. That is something new that Feathr has done, just to kind of help you out. And so when you're looking at things, you're like, oh, what do I do next? How do I optimize? Feathr is trying to help you do that and go ahead and point you in the right direction. So being a friend that way.
Yep.
Popping back to the YMCA. The YMCA is fantastic and they understood a need. So they recognized that for their audience and who they're talking to, obviously this is for grade school children. And so we realized, hey, financial assistance is going to be very, very, very big. And so went ahead and are promoting any scholarships, any financial assistance. And this is top campaign, which just highlights the need that they recognized. Perfect. And as you can see, 149 conversions. Again, the success metric here was not tied to a monetary value. It was contained to how they engaged. And so this was very, very successful.
And then, yeah, let's get into creating that non-dues revenue with monetization, starting with MHI.
Awesome. I'm so glad we're here. So this is creating a new revenue stream. This is something that you can do brand new. It is a completely new revenue stream. This is something that you can add on to an existing sponsorship category. This is something where you can just create a new sponsorship. So just kind of a new tier of that sponsorship. Like we talked about earlier, this is where you have sponsors for your event or for just a season of the year. Maybe they have something new that they want to promote. This specifically is talking about a booth number, so you know that it's for an event. So this was leading up to the ProMat 2025 event. We were showing these ads to MHI's audience. This was a sponsorship that they had where this partner went ahead and purchased, and then we were showing them ads to their audience. And as you see next, kind of how we're tracking that. So a breakdown of how that works is you have a sponsorship agreement with that partner. So maybe they say, I'll give you X amount of money and I want 200,000 impressions from your audience. That's exactly what happened here. So over 200,000 views, 176 clicks to an audience that was relevant to them for an event that they were going to be at. And the same thing here with AAO, HNSF. We can see what they are promoting. So read the research. This was something that was top of mind for John Hopkins. This was in 2024. And so wanted to promote that before a pivotal time in their cycle. Got in front of AO HNSF's audience. Again, you can see 200,000. That is very popular for a sponsorship tier that they both fell in, which is usually towards the top of those sponsor tiers. So 200,000, over 200,000 impressions, 335 clicks to an audience that was relevant to them. And these are just people who are sitting inside of your Feathr account. So we obviously are retargeting them. You obviously are engaging them, but now your sponsors can also engage them.
Yeah, and I think because of the nature of how display ads work and we're all going to see them, wherever we are, you're not sort of impeding your own efforts. It's not like you're switching out your own ads for a sponsor's ads, right? It's like whoever has visited your site is going to see these ads on different websites that they're visiting. So you can stay in front of your audience with your own ads, your own promo, and get your sponsors in front of them as well.
So we have some questions.
Yeah. Real quick before we get into some questions, just because I know people start to kind of hop off at this 10-minute mark, because I'm sure you all have meetings and stuff. I wanted to just launch a quick poll just to see if anyone's interested. So if you feel like working with Kelsey and her team would be a good call for your organization, go ahead and drop a yes to learn more about Feathr, and we'll reach out and have a conversation with you about what this could look like for your specific organization's needs. Obviously, you can see here we have a huge team of people who can design ads, emails, creatives for you, help you come up with the strategy like Kelsey does. So she's obviously running point on looking at all of the goals of an organization's campaign that, if you're hosting an event, driving membership, kind of looking at what the use case is and figuring out all of the pieces that need to fall into place to help you meet your goal. So yeah, we've got lots of great people on this team and we'd love to help you run some campaigns like the ones you've just seen. So, and it's worth pointing out, you can also self-serve with the platform. Feathr is very user-friendly. So if you're not looking to have us run it for you and you just want to get in there and, run it yourself, you can do that as well. So wow, we have so many customers on here, so many Feathr users. It's like a lot of people said that they're already a user, so I love to see that. And then we got a few people interested in learning more. So yeah, just keep dropping
That's awesome.
those and I'll leave that poll running for anyone else. But yeah, let's get into some questions. Yeah, Amy, the webinar will be sent out. So we'll be sending out the slide deck and the recording tomorrow. So check out your email inbox for that. But Ashley had a question. Do the sponsors receive any member information like names or emails?
Yeah, that's a super good question. Also, Ethan, I'm so excited to hear that people are already Feathr users because then they can go ahead and use these strategies right now self-serve.
Yes.
These are things that you can do like today. So very excited that everyone's already in the platform, but that is a super good question, Ashley. We have a dashboard that is available. So just like the stats that you've seen, you'll also get stats that are available to you, such as like cost per click, what does that media spend cost? We can adjust it to where you have a dashboard for your sponsor that will show them how many clicks they're getting, what the impression rate is at a given time. Again, it's live. And then also what that reach is. So unique clicks, total clicks, reach, engagement, things of that nature. So that is available to them at all times if you choose to provide that, because we will provide it to you.
Cool. And then yeah, I'm seeing some more questions. I know each event offering is unique, but is there a recommended minimum spend for each of these campaigns?
That's a super good question. So again, I'm going to hit you with it depends, because obviously if we're trying to talk to 500 people in a registration dropout campaign, it is very different than if we're trying to talk to 50,000 people for a general messaging campaign. A good rule of thumb is probably about $5 a day that the campaign is live as a minimum. Feathr obviously will also go in and help you do a recommended budget, and that is based on how many people we're talking to, how long the campaign is running, and what it thinks will work best. So you have not only that like $5 a day thinking about that minimum, but then you also have Feathr helping you try to figure out, okay, this is the audience size I'm trying to talk to. What would that actually take for me to optimize what I'm doing? So Feathr helps you in that area.
And then just to give, Anna asked about specifically like what you can charge for a certain number of views. Could you give, I guess, some examples of like how you could package this and how you could pitch it to a sponsor that might be interested?
No, for sure. Happy to answer that. So essentially, it is what you think it's worth. Is what is you think that you could sell it for. If this is a brand new offering, maybe you could start with your sponsor that you're the closest to. Maybe you offer it to them, get them to try it out, and then you get them to talk about how incredible it was, how wonderful it was to kind of get in front of this new audience. Maybe it's something you offer complimentary one time to the sponsor that you're closest to. That is a strategy. Or if you think there's already like a healthy appetite for something like this and your sponsors are already asking for new ways in which they can support new sponsorship offerings, go ahead, release it. But something to keep in mind is how long we're running these. So if you have 200,000 impressions that you're running over 3 months, let's keep that $5 a day in mind of how long that is running. So you need to factor in how much am I going to spend to promote these ads and how much revenue do I want to have on top of that. So something you really need to keep in mind is how much of that buffer you want in order to even offer it. So are people working on your team in order to sell this to somebody? Or do you have a sales team that you're hiring in order to promote this? So we just need to take all of those costs in consideration and then add on top that revenue buffer.
Yeah, so that can look like, a whole lot of different things depending on
Mm-hmm.
your organization and what you're putting into it and the sponsor. Some sponsors have more money to pour into sponsorships. But yeah, we've seen sort of a whole variety, but um, yeah, I mean, I've seen organizations make tens of thousands of dollars in revenue from offering this. So,
Same.
you can build up to that. And if you offer it to multiple partners and you're, charging a good amount for it, and it is a super valuable way for them to get in front of people. So I think this is a really good offering to add into what you're already providing them with. The value is definitely there. So it's up to you to figure out what that's worth to that specific sponsor.
Same. And these were very specific. So these were 200,000 impression packages. They don't all have to be that. So you could do something where you're going to run it for 6 weeks, you're going to run it for 4 weeks, and it's 50,000 impressions. Obviously, that changes the number quite drastically on what the media spend is going to cost for you, but also what you would sell it for. So just like you have tiers with your normal sponsorship packages, you can do the same thing with this digital. So the way that that is based on is impressions. So you can just change the number of impressions to create those tiers.
Cool.
These are great questions.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, guys. Cool. Well, I don't see any other ones. If anyone has another question, last minute, feel free to drop it in. Give people like a few more seconds. But thanks so much, everyone, for joining today. Thanks for the engagement and the questions in the chat. And thank you so much, Kelsey, to you for coming on and walking us through all of these campaigns. This was really, really helpful.
Thank you. And thank you for coming to hang out with us.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you guys, and see you on the next one. Bye.